Okay, hello everyone. This is Chris from itsashort.com, and tonight we have Chaico Omawali and Tiona McLaughlin. We're so excited, and I know many of you just watched Chaico's award-winning short film Solace, which is so interesting. So we're going to start our discussions with introductions. My name is Chris Bulware, and I'm the founder of itsashort.com and our main host this evening. I'd like to sort of introduce Chaico Omawali and Tiona McLaughlin. Chaico, do you want to go next and tell people about who you are?
Sure. My name is Chaico. I'm a filmmaker. I made a short film called Solace, and now we are making it into a feature.
Great, thank you. And Tiona, do you want to talk about your amazing history and relationship to Chaico, because we can't see you in the film?
Hi, my name is Tiana. I'm a filmmaker, and I also produce and distribute films that deal with issues that are kind of along the sides of themes of social change. And I've known Chaico forever, so.
For a very long time.
And Tiona, sort of when you talk about social change, what are one or two sort of social change issues that you've done work in? What sort of the social change space?
I generally deal with work that deals with the intersections between or explore and critique gender, race, and sexuality primarily. So I'm interested in things that deal with all or examine how they work together and work against for the most part. But getting into the basic foundation is blackness and queerness, with a heavy focus on intersectionality.
Oh, cool. Okay. And Chaico, I am sort of to come back to you to say, in terms of your introduction as the filmmaker, can you talk a little bit about, sort of how you've become a filmmaker? Like, why are you a filmmaker, and when did you start, and, what was that sort of light bulb moment of inspiration?
Well, I grew up in a lot of different countries, and when I was young, I think I just had this, thirst for, media and TV, because the countries I lived in, we never had access to English TV programming.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was always very much into the arts. My mother was a dancer, and so I just had this thirst to perform. And it's actually a good question, because I wanted to be a dancer first, and then because of my issues with my body, as I got older, I kind of just decided, well, I can't do that. And then I wanted to be an actress, and then because of my own insecurities, I decided, oh, well, I can't do that. I'm black, my nose, or I'm not thin, and I don't want to do something or pursue something where somebody's going to tell me that I can't express myself because of how I look. So in my mind, I had a very specific cut that off. And when I was at Columbia University, the school I went to, I kind of discovered directing and behind the scenes, and so I got into loving cinema through being extremely insecure about my physicality, but I really, really embraced the idea that I could create a story. And so then I'm also a control freak, so the idea of being able to shape and create became very exciting for me, and that's where it started. And I didn't study it. When I graduated, I just decided to make stuff, and that's sort of how I do a lot of things in life. I'm much better. I learn by doing as opposed to somebody teaching me, and so everything that I've done has been like that, from my documentary on HIV and risk factors in youth of color to making music videos, which I didn't really, I just had a vision, and I was able to team up with a really brilliant cinematographer, Bradford Young, and I learned a lot from working with him. With the short film, I learned a lot of stuff because it was my first narrative, because I'd done experimental stuff before. And now with my first feature, I'm definitely surrounding myself with people that know more than I do, so that my vision can, be supported.
Oh, wow. Okay. And it seems like you're now in feature film land, as in Los Angeles, as opposed to New York. Is that right? Or?
Yes. I don't like the cold weather, so I moved a couple years, a while ago. Yes.
Seems like that's perfect for, that's a perfect backdrop / setting for a filmmaker. And Tiona, I don't think we know that you are in Philadelphia. Is that your
Yes,
home
I'm in
base?
Philly.
Okay. Is that your home
Absolutely
base?
not. But yeah, it's my home
No,
base. This
no
is where
shade
I
on
live and
Philly.
work.
No,
It's
right. No shade on Philly, though.
I
No
love
shade.
Philly actually, but I don't want to claim it as a born and raised. But yeah, this is where I live and work, and actually love being a working artist in the city. Is like phenomenal. Um, Especially for filmmakers, I think there's a lot of opportunity out here. But yeah, originally coming from the South, but this is where I work and I live.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Okay. So we'd love to sort of explore a lot about Solace and the history, like kind of like the backstory, Chaico, of, how you came up with this story. I know that it's has some personal resonance that you might want to share. And then there's just some really fun things that happen. You know what I mean? When you just make a film. Oh, we should tell everybody. We think we're being joined by Hope. Hope, are you there?
Hey.
Hey, there she is.
Am I
Oh, that's so great. Yeah.
You good? Hi, Hopi.
Hi, Hope.
Hi.
Okay, so Hope, we're gonna sort of come to you for just a moment.
I'm a little delirious.
That's okay. Yeah, and then we should tell everybody that we have the pleasure of Hope joining us from Kauai. And Hope, we just sort of went through some introductions. Can you sort of tell everybody, who you are and how you've come to be such an amazing actress?
Okay, my name is Hope, and I'm I'm really good friends with Chaico, whom I met working on her short film Solace, and we've stayed friends ever since. And it's just kind of like one of my favorite, most bizarre friendships. Chaico stresses me out constantly, trying to like push me to try new things, and I'm naturally like a grandma and afraid of everything, and just very content to stay home on a Friday night. But Chaico's like, let's go get down and dance and have fun. Yeah. What else? I'm from Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria. I was born in the UK, and I grew up between London and Lagos, and then my mom won the American visa lottery, and that's how we got to move to the States. And I've been, I go back to Nigeria quite a bit. It used to be like pre-med. I wanted to be Dr. Hope, but then I don't know. I had to decided I wanted to like tell stories or something. I don't know. What else? Do you have any, would you want me to talk about Solace, or what would you like me?
No, just to introduce yourself and to talk about how you become
and the most important thing about me, well, aside from being the most, I'm very, very much into, I recently got into tech. I'm very enthusiastic and passionate about it, and I started this project called Local Literati, and it's like a website and a pending mobile app for avid readers or bibliophiles, also known as literati. And basically it's like an entertainment hub and a platform, and it's growing, and it's really, really fun. I'm getting to work with all my friends. Chaico is one of the contributing editors. She's written articles for the site, and the tagline's reading life to the fullest, which is what I like to do a lot. Like I'm planning on going to the beach and reading, like with a Mai Tai or something. Like that's what I'm gonna do
That's
tonight.
fantastic. And
Yeah.
can you talk about you being an actress?
Yeah, me being an actress, I think, is probably one of the biggest contradictions for my personality, because I can be pretty shy, but I don't understand. Like a lot of people are like, I don't understand how you're an actor, which I don't know either. But I think I just I really enjoy it. I get to try things, I guess, that I probably would never do in real life, because again, I'm such a chicken and I don't like to actually do anything. But I really, really enjoy it. I really love the power of storytelling and, putting myself in someone else's shoes, or being able to kind of get people to connect to or relate to a story or a person that they otherwise maybe wouldn't have. Unless they watch the story. And so that's something that I feel really enthusiastic about with storytelling, and being able to kind of inspire people to connect with people in situations that they wouldn't necessarily think that they had anything in common with.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm doing, right now I'm on a show called The Last Ship, and I'm playing a Jamaican, which is really fun.
I'm-
Well, you know what?
I told her, she laughed at
Right.
me.
Hope, before we have that discussion, we're going to talk a little bit about Solace. So we're gonna go
Yes.
to Tiona, and she's gonna sort of begin a discussion about. And she has some amazing questions for everybody that she'd love for you guys to respond to, that are going to help everybody understand the backstory and the story of the creation of Solace. So, Tiona.
Okay, yeah. Hi, Hope. Tiana here in Philly. Just want to talk with. Hi, nice to meet you too. Just want to first post a question, of course, to Chaico and talk about a little bit of get a little bit of background of why you chose this topic and how it took form into a narrative film.
Okay. Chaico, I don't know why everybody's laughing about that. I have no idea why people are laughing about that.
Okay. Okay, I'll stop being so silly for a second.
Oh, we've been joined by somebody else, Janika. I don't know who that is.
Oh, who's this?
Janika
Hi.
is this amazing young woman who, Janika, you're in college, right?
Hi, yes, I am.
She's this young feminist who interviewed me last year, and her friend Alice have been like huge supporters of like my work, of me, and I met them through my friend Chelsea's podcast, who's also a big supporter. So welcome, Janika.
Hi.
Hi.
Fantastic. Well, can we pause for just a moment and give Janika a chance to sort of just introduce herself?
Yes.
Okay, go, Janika.
Sure. Okay, so I'm a sophomore in college, and I work for an organization called Spark Movement, and I started a series called Black Women Create, and basically through interviews and reviews, we've highlighted the work of Black women directors, writers, filmmakers, producers, all sorts. And Chaico was the first person I interviewed, and I was so happy and so super excited to talk to her. And yeah, that's what I do, and I love writing, and I'm super excited to be on this chat with you all.
Oh,
Yay.
great. Well, we are so delighted to have you. Thanks for joining us. Okay, and we were just about to go to, Tiona was just about to ask her first question. So, Tiona, go right ahead.
Yes. Just want to talk to you, Chaico, and talk a little bit of get a little bit of background about what drew you to the topic and how you turned that into a narrative script.
Sure. So actually, I got a residency, an artist retreat residency, because when I was in my mid-20s, I was working on a documentary on HIV, AIDS, and the risk factors in youth of color. And while I was there, I was sort of by the beach in Cape Cod alone for a month in the winter, and I wrote this story, or I wanted to write a story about cutting, because when I had moved to the U.S., I'm going to try and make this short, but I grew up in a lot of different countries, and the last country I lived in before I came to the U.S. was Yemen. There was a civil war, and so we were evacuated, and I ended up in New York. And a couple months after I got here, I found out that my friend had died in Mozambique when she went home. And I also, by that time, there had been a lot of different deaths in my life. My brother was killed in a coup when I was 12. And when I got to New York, I used to, I'm very dramatic, but this was actually very real to me. I used to want to cut myself, and I would lock myself in a closet and sort of just really want to like cut out parts of my body because I didn't know how else to deal with the pain. And I never cut, but I was just sort of fascinated by people that were able to do it, and so I would research a lot about it, and then that's how I came up with the initial story about a girl who's fascinated with her neighbor who cuts, and the girl wants to be like the neighbor who's able to find a way to like express her pain even though it's in a dysfunctional way. So I wrote that when I was 25. By the time I got to 30, I realized that I had an eating disorder, and so the story shifted, and it became about a girl who has an eating disorder but doesn't realize it, who is obsessed with her neighbor who has this very obvious outward problem, and that's how the feature came about. And I was working on a movie, it's a Miley Cyrus movie actually, called So Undercover, and the DP, oh my God, who is that?
I don't know who that is. Is that someone that you
I'm his production god. Yeah, I'm his production god. Yes.
test out.
That's hilarious.
Who is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Um, anyway, that's hilarious. He encouraged me to submit my script to the Sundance Writers Lab, and so, usually I need a lot of encouragement to do stuff, but I did that, and I was a finalist. I didn't get into the lab, but I was pretty determined to get my film made, and so that's where I'm at today.
Okay. And my second question is
I
for
want to pause
Hope.
for just 1 second and make sure that I'm wondering if you guys tweeted out the wrong link, because there's not really, no one should be joining us.
Oh, I could have done that. I tweeted the link because I thought.
Yeah. So the only link that there's a YouTube link. That's the one that you want people to.
Okay.
Okay. Not the other. There's sort of the only people that have the link for the Hangout are you, Hope, and you, Chaico, and you, Tiona.
And Janika.
No one else.
I want Janika to stay on there too.
That would be fine. But everything else is a YouTube link, which is posted on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Right?
Let me try and delete that from my page then.
Yeah, I would do that. I'm ejecting people, but
that's hilarious.
That's never happened before. It's a new experience.
That's
friends.
At any rate, we're joined, by the way, by our colleague, Duana Gila-Serna, who is managing our Twitter feed.
Hi, Duana.
Yeah, she's on mute, but she hears you. Okay. All right, so everybody has cleaned up the...
yes, I did.
Very good, very good. All right, okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry, Tiona, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Your second...
Yeah, my second question is for Hope. Just wanted to talk to you about your first impressions when you read the script and what drew you to the actual character that you play within Solace.
Actually, what drew me to working on the project was meeting Chaico for the first time and having coffee with her. We kind of met in a very unusual way. I think she found me, she found out that we had mutual friends and messaged me through another friend on Facebook, and because I think she wasn't able to reach me before that, and so we met for coffee, and I found her so interesting and kind of terrifying, but in a good way. And I thought, the prospect of doing something that I felt isn't necessarily covered. You see a lot of independent films. You see things that are covering really sort of gritty topics, or that are very much about a character's real emotional journey, aside from just external circumstances. But a lot of that is often from a very a white perspective. And I thought, oh, how exciting! I don't think I've really seen anything that's talking about a black girl having an eating disorder, but it's not. So it wasn't this overwrought thing. It was just kind of this, she has a void, and she wants to feel connected and close to someone, and she sees someone that she really admires, and then comes to realize that the thing that you think you often really want, there's more to it than that. There's more to what you see on the outside. And I thought, just hearing her talk about it just really got me very enthusiastic about the project. And when I got to New York, it was just, her friends, seeing everyone just come together. It was I was glad to be a part of it, and I made, a lot of cool friends that I'm still connected to now. And yeah, it was pretty much Chaico that convinced me.
Oh, how fantastic! How fantastic, Tiona.
Yes,
Do you have a question?
yes.
Yeah.
Just wanted to go back to Chaico and talk a little bit about the casting process and what you had in mind when it came down to casting, and how you engaged your potential candidates around these specific issues.
Well, I was working with Aisha.
Oh no!
Chaico.
You think that Chaico froze?
I think she froze.
I interned on a Spike Lee movie, so I kind of just hunted her
Chaico, we
down.
lost you.
Oh, I'm not here?
Oh,
You froze.
you are. Chaico, we can hear you now. You just froze for a moment.
Oh, okay. Aisha
Can you
Coley
repeat
was
your
the...
answer, though?
Sure. Aisha Coley was my casting director, and while I was in LA, she would send me videos of women that we were auditioning or that she was auditioning in New York. And then I traveled to New York and I met Sydney Morton, who is a dancer, a theatrical actress on Broadway. And Sydney's personality and sort of her background and the tape that I'd seen made me say, okay, that's a good Jasmine character. That's a character that cuts. And I still couldn't find the right soul, which is the character Hope plays, because it's just such a very subtle, sort of nuanced thing. And I remember Aisha saying, hey, check out this girl. She's like amazing, but I don't think her agent will let you read for her. And I basically stalked Hope. That's how I found her. I stalked her, and I think it was meant to be. I believe in magic, because the friend that Hope was speaking of, that knew both of us, is a girl called Iyabo, who was her mother I was named after. So it was a very random set of affairs, and my life is very much like that. And so when I met Hope, finally when I met Hope, it was like I got so excited because I met like another black woman who sort of didn't have a straightforward history. She's like from Nigeria, but then also went to school in England, but then also was in LA. And for me, as somebody who moved to the U.S. very late in my life, I moved here when I was 16, I get very excited when I meet other people who are not from the U.S., whether they're Asian, black, white, or whatever. It's a thing.
Well, you shouldn't be lonely in the U.S. because there are a ton of people who are not born here. So.
Yes.
That sort of is an interesting take on things because it makes, it lends a kind of comfort. That's fun. Okay. And Tiona, do you have a question for Janika or Hope?
Can I ask Janika a question?
Actually.
Or after Tiana?
Yeah.
Do we have to ask Tiana? Do we have to ask Tiona if she wants can do it? I think so.
Can I interrupt you, Tiana?
Yeah, Chaico. Yeah, actually, yeah. Chaico, you can ask whatever you want.
Janika, I think, let me try and make it a very short question, but I think one of the interesting things about what I see with you and your friend Alice online is sort of being feminist and owning that, but like allowing for like a much broader definition.
That's interesting, a broader definition of feminism. Janika, do you want to respond to that?
Okay.
Sure. I think you cut out in the last part, Chaico, but I'm going to try and answer it to my best ability. But what I think I find a lot is that feminism has one sort of view. Some people view feminism as one strict thing, and the way I was introduced to it, I feel like I was always a feminist, but not learning the term or the theories behind it, not actually knowing the history behind it. It wasn't until later on in my life that I was able to identify as a feminist. But I also think there's so much room to be an activist and believe in these things and fight for justice and all of that, and also have the part where we love Nicki Minaj and we watch her music videos and we have a critical eye towards that, which is super nice. We look at things through a feminist lens, but we also know how to enjoy ourselves and take care of ourselves mentally, because it's so easy to burn out and just lay yourself down and get worn out. But you can have a critical eye and use that feminist lens to everything that you do and still be able to enjoy it.
Right.
So I kind of think that's what you're talking about, like a broader experience, especially I'm only 19, so like I'm still learning what feminism is to me, but I definitely always want to have that broad experience of it. And like with talking to different women about their films and their writing projects has been so amazing, and a lot of people, when I explain it to them, don't understand how that's a part of my feminism, but it definitely is. Like, the representation of black women on the screen is directly tied to how we're viewed in society, and that's why I think it's so important to have not only black women creating these stories, but once they are created, people need to support it as well. So that's what I'm trying to figure out.
That is wonderful. Thank you. You know, it's fun to think about sort of you being 19 and sort of connecting with the idea of feminism. That is totally cool.
Thank you.
Like that's very hopeful. You know what I mean? Because I think as women, we're just beginning, you know, sort of what is going to be a huge journey. I don't know, Tiona, sort of, you yielded to the gentlewoman from Los Angeles, Chaico.
I'm not that gentle, Tiana knows.
Yeah. No. No, I mean the next thing I just wanted to talk about is to kind of bring it up to date right now. Like what is the status right now? You know, coming from developing, you know, a short film, creating the short film, getting it out there. What are some of the experiences that, you know, lent itself to actually creating this feature-length version?
Tiona, are you asking Chaico?
Yes, Chaico.
Okay.
Yes.
I was just texting with Hope. Yes, we were texting about how much we love Janika because
We just got totally cut out of that conversation. You guys are not on chat.
I can tell by your eyes.
all right, just ask me again. I'm gonna pay attention now.
No, it's so simple. Yeah. Basically just basically just wanted to know when you took the film on the road, what were some of the experiences that maybe found their way into your process of developing the feature narrative script that you have right now?
You know what? The narrative script is still pretty much how I wanted it before the short went to festivals. The thing that festivals did for me was just really give me ammunition and energy to be like, yes, you're supposed to do this. Yes, this is valid. Because for me, at least, when I'm making films and creating art in this like sort of independent way, a lot of the time it can feel very alone. You know, from time to time I'll call and wig out, and my friends like Tiana and my friends like Chelsea will like sort of bring me back down, or Hope. But a lot of the time it's like you put something out and then you're like, oh my God, will people like this? Is this relevant? Am I just doing like, is this masturbatory or is this like relevant? And when I went and showed the film at festivals, I mean, I had men coming up to me, I had other women coming up to me, and it just really, the same thing with the Kickstarter campaign. I was up last night Facebook chatting with a woman I don't know personally who's black about her eating disorder and her mother being bulimic, and it's like that's, you know, it's like there's always, this is how I've been since I've been a kid. There's been a kernel of like knowingness, but then like my insecurity and sort of, you know, my external influences will make me sort of try and shrink that kernel. And so when I have friends and community like Tiana, like Chelsea, like, you know, people responding to the film, it just really helps that kernel to sort of grow and, you know, be as big as it's supposed to be. So that, but I was pretty clear about what I wanted in the film. I think also, just for if there's anybody else who creates and is listening to this, for me taking the time, because I wanted to do this feature 2 years ago, then I wanted to do it last year, and just now I'm doing the campaign. But having that time really helped me shift how I wanted to approach it at first. And you know, the short film, the tone of it is sort of very, it's a little heavy. It's very like, very much like a mood film. And for the feature, I'm very clear that my tone is going to be different. You know, I want it to be accessible to people. Like, I want it to be fun. I want it to be silly. I mean, because that's part of my personality. And so I think the growth over the years is not feeling like I need to hit people on the head with like, you must know about eating disorders, and really sort of shape narrative to like, you know, what are the fun things about being a teenager, and then also what are the shadow things. So yeah.
I'm just, we're going to pause for just a second because I want Hope to find the chat. She found it!
I just found it! Okay, yeah, I got your text and I responded.
Great.
What I was going to say was that it's interesting. One of the things that, when I say Chaico convinced me, one of the things that I find so magnetic about Chaico is, again, it's the thing that terrifies me, is that she's so completely unabashed about who she is, and I'm talking about, like, you know, the ugly things, the messy stuff, you know, whatever. And when I met her, and that's what I found so terrifying, I felt like, oh my God, this person is so comfortable, you know, in her skin about all the things that kind of make her really vulnerable. And And that's something that, you know, like I definitely struggle with. It's hard for me. I mean, I play like a lot of vulnerable characters, but I think that in my life sometimes it's hard. Like it's easy for me to just kind of put up walls and feel safe. And so, and I think it's one of the things that I like about, I don't know if it's like a new wave of feminism or a broader description, as Janika said, is I like the idea of it just being like, look, the things that make, you know, that empower women, but also allow them to embrace their vulnerability and embrace the things that do make them, you know, truly human, and how we can support each other and find strength within the things that make us vulnerable, rather than feeling like we need to kind of, you know, push them under the rug or hide them or appear to be a certain way. Like I think that there's a lot of strength in addressing our vulnerabilities directly, but we, you know, a few of us need to kind of stand up and put ourselves out there so others can feel comfortable doing the same, and also recognize that they're not alone. They're experiencing the same things, like, you know, eating disorders or cutting or depression or things like that. And as a result, from seeing other people like themselves experiencing that and coping with it, they'll be able to find strength in that and turn it into a positive in some way. Because I really think that within all of those things, there's something that can make us even stronger than we think we are, if we know how to look at it and how to interpret it without drowning in it.
And you know, I have to say, I'm kind of curious, like, sort of what is the real connection between, you know, this kind of self-harm and, you know, sort of women actualizing themselves and feminism? Is that a continuum? What is that? Can you guys? I don't know. Do you give thought to that or no?
Who wants to do that one?
I could maybe. I don't want to say that there's a situation around the continuum. I think that there's a you know, I think they're separate things that kind of like call or they're in a relationship with each other in the way that they can be engaged.
Oh, that's interesting.
Positively. So I think around you know, women having the agency to actually vocalize their experiences, maybe having suffered or dealt with you know, eating disorder, dealt with self-harm, is something, you know, a strong voice that can come from a community that's kind of like been seen to be so, you know, oh, you have to be this strong woman, this, that, another, but a lot of people are suffering silently around these things. So I think there's a, you know, it comes back to that you know, the key word I think is vulnerability, how to talk about these issues, but also speak about, you know, being strong, but also dealing with these things that, you know, we may deal with, you know, in the privacy of our own homes. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, just as, you know, someone who's known Chaico for a long time, is that when I actually got the chance to see the film, the short film, I became really, really passionate about helping her get it out as much as possible, because I actually had a sibling who was a cutter, and it wasn't until she you know, told me about her experience that I had even thought that Black women had the capacity to do something like that. And it for me, because I'm like kind of like I would think like pretty known about stuff, but it was my first experience, and it kind of hit me in the gut to know like, you know, this could be happening within my own family, but then also to see, like, you know, the roots of where it stemmed from, to really have that conversation with her as a teenager and talk about these feelings, and allow the space for her, and then also to, like, you know, kind of like assist with that the care that she felt comfortable seeking around counseling, around, you know, the support to get over it. So, like, I think with what Chaico has in this film is really beautiful and special, because it deals with something so complicated, but in a very, very subtle, in a very, very, very strong, very non-judgmental way, which is very important when it comes to this kind of, you know, situations, because within the Black community, this is something that people like to say, you know, this doesn't happen to Black people. I was never one of to say that. It just, I had never experienced it. But, you know, having this film is something that I know when I met a lot of other women who've either cut or suffered from eating disorders or anything, any other kind of disorders that deal with self-harm, it's nice to be able to reference this film to start the conversation. So I think it's, a really brilliant conversation starter, which is like, the first step to actually seeking help. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, you guys, it's like in a strange way, I like hate to like move this conversation along because it's like heavy, but it's so important, right? But I'm wondering if we can shift a little bit to sort of what tomorrow looks like for everybody. In other words, sort of coming out of this amazing film and this amazing discussion now, what are some of the projects that you guys are working on that you want to make sure people who are viewing this will know about? Do you want to start, Chaico?
I'll go last.
Okay, great. Hope, do you want to talk to us about why you're in Kauai?
Oh, no, I'm actually, well, for a couple of things, but one is my sister's getting married, and another one is actually, she's getting married tomorrow. We're all very excited, and my mom's over there napping. And then the other thing, which I mentioned briefly, was the local literati project. Like something, again, I'm really, really very passionate about. Having grown up in Nigeria and gone back and forth between the States and other parts of the world, I'm very, very passionate about finding ways to make a tangible and meaningful impact. And because we all want to contribute, we all have that urge to kind of make a difference, but it's not really clear how we can do that besides liking and sharing things on social media. And I also believe like charity begins at home, and you can do little things around you to make a difference in the world. But we want to see something. We want to actually make a big difference if we can. And something that I feel very strongly about is I believe that bridging the literacy gap worldwide, not just in third world countries, even here in America and in first world countries, I think bridging the literacy gap is something that can practically and efficiently address a lot of the issues that we face in different arenas, whether it's the political arena, even like things like financial literacy, things like like how can you advocate for yourself if you're not versed on the issues, if you don't know how to, if you can't look at things critically and assess them in some way. Or in Nigeria, it's a democracy, so to speak, but if most of the population doesn't know how to read or write, how can they say they're actually voting for something when they're not, Anyway, I really believe in bridging the literacy gap, but I wanted to do that in a way that would not trick people, but also, like, I wanted to do something that people would enjoy and engage, but also there's the added benefit of participating in something that makes a difference. And that's how I came up with Local Literati. And so it's, like I said, it's an entertainment hub. It's really meant to be a lot of fun. And my goal is for it to be like the ultimate web and mobile destination for bibliophiles. But then there's also the Literati Foundation, which is dedicated to promoting literacy worldwide and getting like literati ambassadors. And then this interview series I do called The Dialogues. And the whole point of the dialogues, the literati dialogues, are interviews with anyone of prominence in any field that can attribute a part of their success to a passion for reading or writing. And the goal of that is to highlight more meaningful role models and people that would previously not necessarily, get the recognition that could inspire other people. I think even for me, like getting into tech, I haven't found a lot of role models, a lot of people that I could look up to that would keep me motivated, in terms of like looking like me, to keep me motivated to continue what I was doing. And it was actually Chaico and her boyfriend Bert that got me back on track with this, because I was going through a lot. It was really hard, and they insisted, like, you can't give up on it. You got to really get back on your feet. And if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't have the site live right now. I would have just kind of left it on a shelf somewhere. But yeah, that's it. And it's localliterati.com, on Twitter, Local Literati. And we've got some really fun dialogues coming up, and there'll be a lot of fun features rolling out in the next few months. And the site just went live last month at Comic-Con, and so far so good. And you're all welcome. If anyone wants to participate, if anyone wants to be a contributing editor, like I really want it to be a community. So I would welcome that. If there's anyone you think would be great to interview, please, don't hesitate to reach out to me and we can make it happen.
Awesome. That is fantastic. Congratulations, Ho.
Yeah.
Tiona?
Yes.
Do you want to, we have a wonderful question from someone on Twitter.
I texted it.
Oh. To me? I'm looking, okay.
Can you see it's from Jay Percenti? Not sure who
Yes,
that is.
yes. Okay. Wants to talk about representation of colored women on screen. Do you also feel like teens, youth are also misrepresented in the media? I think, yeah. You want to talk about that first, Chaico, or do you?
I'm just going to say it really quickly. I feel like when you don't have people who are making the subject matters, then it's always going to be a misrepresentation. So I think it's important for young people to also be the filmmakers and the directors. It's important for women to be the directors. It's like you need everybody to be a part of the conversation, or else, I'm 36. Like, I'm making the feature Solace. Like, I really don't have, I need to check in with young people about what 17, 18, 19 is like right now, because it's different from when I was younger. So, Janika, you take it away.
I was thinking that Janika might have something to say about this as well.
Sure. Yeah, so the question came from the Rona Lisa on Twitter.
Oh, cool.
And, yeah, I think it's a great question, and definitely I feel like in films and in movies and everything, teens are usually represented as really apathetic, don't really care about much, we're super self-centered, when honestly we're doing so much, like, we're doing awesome things, and of course that's not what's represented, because the people who are controlling these narratives, they aren't teenagers, so they're not going to be looking out for our best interests. So just like what Chaico was saying, it's so important to have youth and have black women and have the people who these stories are about controlling these stories, because otherwise it's going to be completely misrepresentation. It ties into the project I'm working on, which is something I hope to keep working on until, black women are in the forefront, honestly, because when we see movies and we go to the theater and we see these characters and honestly can't relate to them at all, there's a reason. It's because black women aren't given the opportunity to take the lead and take these positions and write these stories. And it's not because we're not out there making these films, it's because people aren't letting us in. So that's why it's so important to support these creators and to support the work that they're doing, and also encourage, young women to get involved. And so I definitely think teens and youth are misrepresented, but, need to support their voices when they want to join and when they want to start to film.
Sure. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you, Janika. And do you want to, Tiona, did you have another question, or do you want to talk about, all the sort of amazing work that you're doing?
Definitely want to.
Oh, no. Did we lose Tiona?
No,
She's frozen
I'm
for a
here,
little bit.
actually.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Okay. We can hear you fine. We just can't see you live, but we can see a great representation.
I can see her now,
cool,
so I think it's okay.
Okay, cool. Definitely wanted to just talk about, I guess taking it is for women to tell their own stories, which I'm a very big advocate of and for. Chaico, could you just talk a little bit about what you're doing right now to make this film come to light with your Kickstarter campaign?
You mean like posting lots of different articles about the stats around black women and eating disorders?
No, just talking about your Kickstarter campaign to encourage people to actually support you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like so we have about 9 days left to raise a little bit over 15 grand, and so what I've been trying to do, not just getting people to donate money and to support the film, but really trying to get it into people's minds that this is actually something that happens. Like Black women, Black girls do struggle with self-harm and with eating disorders, and so it's kind of cool that both advocating for my fundraising also opens up this door to like educate people, to let other women know that they're not alone. And it's been a really, really beautiful experience. I've learned even stuff that I didn't know before. For example, there are a lot of Black women who just go undiagnosed, and they're more at risk, especially low-income families, for having eating disorders than their counterparts who are in, you know, higher income brackets. Or like Black women use laxatives more. You know, there's like a whole spectrum of eating disorders. But it's been really fun connecting and sort of talking about this stuff. I feel pretty confident we're going to get the money. We have a little bit of ways to go, but I think I've been getting a lot of support from friends, and I believe that this website, Hello Giggles, is going to do an article, and I think that might help a lot. So, Janika, you like Hello Giggles? Yeah, I just talked to someone there. She was amazing, and like they're so supportive. I mean, it's really cool to, in light of all the really intense things happening in the world all over, not just in the U.S. or in West Africa where I grew up or in the Middle East, like I think it is important to look at the positive things that are happening just so that we're not weighed down, because for me, I know that's going to make me want to cut. But like I just, you know, there are a lot of amazing things, and the people at Hello Giggles are just really, they seemed really supportive of this topic. So I'm hoping that will open up for people to be able to back the film. And, you know, my dream is to actually like go way beyond the 30 grand, but I know that I can make it on 30 grand. So once I get there, then we're good.
You know, I have to say it's kind of interesting that the website is called Hello Giggles, and they are talking about Solace. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a nice take on it. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I laugh at myself all the time.
I know, right? I know, right? Well, okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much for an amazing conversation. This has been terrific. We at itsashort.com feel so honored to be able to share the short film Solace, and look forward, Chaico, to the feature-length film. We're so excited. We won't be able to share that with the world, but we're happy that we sort of were part of the push to get you there.
Thank you so much.
itsashort.com is for everybody who's watching. We are interested in and offer everybody amazing award-winning or award-nominated short film, video, and web series. We encourage everybody to sort of register and, you know, sort of watch sort of a phenomenal work. And tonight, of course, was the online premiere of Solace. So please, you know, sort of leave Chaico notes about that, and sort of let her know what your take on Solace is. So there's also sort of click on our blog, because we've done a huge blog post on her Kickstarter campaign, and people are already supporting it as a result of this, which is so exciting. So, Chaico, we know you're going to get more than your $30,000 goal, and we're going to do everything we can to push you over the edge. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Great.
Can I just say one thing?
Of course you can.
Tiana didn't get to talk about her work, but she does a lot of really very interesting, she's made documentaries, and she's doing a lot of very interesting visual art. Like, I just want Tiana to say something, because as an artist, she's been very inspiring to me, and what she's doing is on some new stuff.
I was hoping that Tiana would say something, and she sort of bypassed me twice. So are you going to do it?
It's just on your website.
Oh gosh.
It was just on your
gosh. I'm actually. Oh really? Oh man. I'm not going to talk about my work, but I am going to talk about the program that Chaico was a part of for this past year. That I think I'm actually about to announce my next 3 artists in September. I have a program as a part of my company that focuses on Black, queer, women, and trans artists, and I help them with booking and management skills that are just related to like sustainability for artists that deal with like works such as Chaico's, that with themes that kind of relate to their own life experiences, just in hopes to encourage them to have a bit more of a chance at having people to be able to support the work and some more financial stability. So Yeah. It's very. I think my thing, outside of my own work, which is like to here, but I think it's really important for artists who do work like Chaico, that deals with, that deal with like issues that people have never really seen in this kind of format, on behalf of these kind of communities, especially Black community. Um, uh, Kind of like can run the risk of just having a life in the film festival circuit. So I think it's really important to be able to support these artists directly, and get the word out around their works so that people can have more access to their works and be able to support them to have a actual career beyond just these films. Because these films, doing this kind of work, especially with Solace, I got to see firsthand some of the things that Chaico dealt with around, like, people's hesitancy with the project, concerns about what kind of film festivals would accept the film. And it's just really important to know that there is a market for work like this. So I hope that more, especially young Black women can, find a space to address issues such as these within narrative works, because it's really important. Documentary, I do a lot of documentary and I do a lot of experimental work, but narrative work is really, it really could use a lot more work along these lines, because it's just really not there. So, I just want to encourage everybody to try to take a chance on filmmakers dealing with these kind of topics. It's very important work, very important.
And Tiona, you know what? I want to say that on behalf of we sort of know about Chaico because of our strategic relationship with the Montreal Black International Film Festival. And Joyce Fierza, who is their program officer, who actually supported Chaico's work, was unable to join us this evening, but I do want to make sure that we talk about the fact that they too are equally as supportive as we are at itsashort.com. So we're so grateful that you guys were all able to join us, and despite like amazing hurdles and challenges, but we did it, guys, we did it. So listen, everybody, to all of our viewers, thanks so much. And this hangout is going to be available via link on the It's a Short Facebook page. You'll be able to see the show in its entirety. And thank you, everybody. Thanks, Chaico. Thanks, Janika. Thanks, Hope. And thanks, Tiona. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.